everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make yet another necklace and earring set from the contents of the latest bargain bead box, the Art Deco Luxe collection. I just can't seem to stop with this box. I sat down here intending to make a bracelet and somehow it morphed into a necklace. I don't know, that happens to me all the time. I just don't know. In case you're not familiar, Bargain Bead Box is a monthly subscription of beads and findings. It's $19.49 a month, and that includes shipping in the United States. They have beautiful beads and findings. It's always curated around a different theme each month. And if you're a subscriber to the Bargain Bead Box, you get a 30% off coupon to use in Bead Box Bargains, which is their sister store. And you can use it as many times as you want to during the month, and they already have great prices. I have a coupon code. It's Teresa2, and I'll put it on the screen here and in the description box below, along with a link to the page to sign up for the subscription if you're interested. The coupon code will save you $2 off your first box if you sign up. I've been buying beads and findings for many years now, and I really do believe this is a good value. I've already made 2 necklaces with matching earrings, and I'm about to make a third, and I've still got a lot of beads left. In here I've got the 5.5 by 6 millimeter hematite man-made coated chevron beads. In here I've got 4 of the 4 millimeter finely faceted hematite man-made AB rounds, and I've got some little tiny spacer beads from my stash. These I got these on Amazon. It's just a bunch of different sizes of gold and silver beads. I'll put in the description box below, I'll put a link to everything I'm using, as many as I can find, and I'll put a link to these in there too in case you want to get some of those. These are the 6 by 4 millimeter crystal faceted rondelle beads in jet gold. I have 1 barrel bead left. It's the 10 millimeter crystal faceted barrel bead in jet. I've got a couple little bead caps from my stash. I've only got 4 of these left. They're the 8 millimeter crystal faceted drop beads in teal AB. Here I've got the 8 millimeter black agate dyed and heated round beads. I've got some bead caps from my stash. I've got some findings in here. I've got, there's a couple of pieces of the chain that came in the box. I've got some jump rings and a lobster clasp, an extender chain, one of the little 4 millimeter beads I'm going to hang off the end of the extender chain for a little decoration, and a head pin to do that with, a couple of 2x2 crimp tubes, and a couple of wire guardians. And of course in here, I rarely ever make a necklace that I don't make a matching pair of earrings. So there's just some of the same beads that are going to be in the necklace in there, and a couple of eye pins, and a couple of head pins, and a couple of ear wires, and a few spacer beads from my stash, and a couple of few of the little tiny gold beads from my stash. I've got my bead stopper. I've got my soft flex bead stringing wire in champagne. It's fine, and it's 19 strand. Of course, you can use whatever bead stringing wire you want. I've got my chain nose pliers, my tweezer pliers. Tweezer pliers are Xuron. I've got both pairs of my cutters. One pair I use for bead stringing wire, and the other pair I use for head pins and eye pins and craft wire and things like that. They're both Xuron. I've got both pairs of my bent chain nose pliers. These I got from BB Craft years ago, and these are Xuron, and these are the really sharp 90-degree angle ones, but Xuron has a pair that's more like this, that's not such a sharp 90-degree angle. I'll put a link to those in the description box too. And I have got my round nose pliers and my crimping pliers. The round nose pliers I got from BB Craft many years ago, and the crimpers are Beadalon. They're standard Beadalon crimpers. The crimp tubes I use are Beadalon. And I've got my little New Orleans shot glass to put my wires in that I cut off. I won't be using him till I make the earrings. He's getting a little bit full. I'm going to have to empty him again. I think that's everything. Hold on, I'll get some of this out of the way and I'll be back. Okay, I've got all my beads poured out here, and I've got about a 20-inch piece of bead stringing wire cut here. I usually just work off the spool, and I just string up half of it and then do the other half off camera. But I thought you might want to see how I do it, how I work it out. So, of course, I knew I only have one barrel bead here, so I knew I wanted that to be in the center. And I've got these 2 bead caps that are different from the other bead caps I've got that I got out of my stash. I'm going to put them on the other side, on each side of my barrel bead. That's going to be the center. And now I'm going to do this little pattern that's going to repeat throughout of a spacer bead, bead cap, no, spacer bead, rondelle bead, bead cap, 8mm, bead cap. If you wonder why I throw the bead caps down like that, they tend to get stuck together, so I just do that to make sure I'm only picking up one. Another rondelle bead, and another spacer bead. And that little pattern, I'm going to be repeating that little pattern throughout the necklace quite a lot. So that's what I've got now. So I'm going to do that on this side. Do my spacer bead, rondelle, bead cap, 8mm bead, bead cap, rondelle, spacer bead, so that's what I've got now. I'm going to go back over here to this side, and I'm going to do one of my teal drop beads, and I'm going to put it with the flat side down, and another spacer bead, and my little repeating pattern here of the rondelle, bead cap, 8mm, bead cap, rondelle, spacer bead, now that's what I've got. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Do my drop bead with the flat side down, and my little repeating pattern of the spacer bead, rondelle, bead cap, 8mm, bead cap, rondelle, spacer bead, now that's what I've got. Now I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do 2 chevron beads with the point facing down, and then I'm going to do one of my little 4mm beads, and 2 of the chevron beads with the point facing up, so that I get that little pattern there. And then another spacer bead, And I'm going to come over here to this side and do the same thing. 2 chevron beads with the point facing down. Four millimeter bead. 2 chevron beads with the point facing up. Spacer bead. That's what I got so far. Now I'm going to do my rondelle, bead cap, 8 millimeter bead, bead cap, rondelle, spacer bead. I'm going to go over here and do that on the other side. Rondelle, bead cap, 8 millimeter, bead cap, rondelle, spacer bead, now that's what I've got. Now I'm going to do my drop bead with the flat side facing down, spacer bead, and my little repeating pattern of the rondelle, bead cap, 8 millimeter, bead cap, rondelle, spacer bead, I'm going to go over here and do the same thing. I'll do my last drop bead with the flat side facing down, spacer bead, a little repeating pattern of my rondelle, bead cap, eight millimeter bead, bead cap, rondelle, spacer bead, now I'm going to do this little pattern with my chevrons again. So I'm going to put my chevrons in, 2 with the point facing down. One of my little 4 millimeters. Two with the point facing up. Spacer bead. Then my little repeating pattern of the rondelle, bead cap, eight millimeter, bead cap, rondelle, spacer bead. Now I'm going to go over here and do the same thing. Two of my chevron beads facing with a point facing down. Four millimeter bead. Two of my chevron beads with the point facing up. Spacer bead. And then my little repeating pattern of the rondelle, bead cap, 8 millimeter bead, bead cap, rondelle, spacer bead. So that's what I've got. I know it's impossible to see it all. Turn it sideways here. That's what I've got now. So now I'm going to get ready to crimp. Okay, now I'm ready to crimp. So I'm going to take my crimp tube here, put it on my wire, take my wire guardian, put it on here, take my wire and come back down the other side of my wire guardian, go back through the crimp tube, make sure my wires are not crossed. Squish my little crimp tube in just a little bit here. I'm going to take my crimping pliers and I'm going to go in the second part there that's got the little circular part on one side and the little notch on the other side. And I'm going to lay my crimp in there, and I'm going to pull it up so there's no, well, I'm going to pull it up so there's no wire coming out the top of the crimp tube there. And I'm going to squeeze. And I'm going to turn it. And that puts each little wire in its own little channel there. And now I'm going to go into the top part of my crimpers that just has a little circular part on each side. And I'm going to lay my crimp in there. And I'm going to fold my crimp. And now I'm going to tug. That's good, it's not coming out. So now I'm going to cut off the extra wire. I'm going to go to this side, bring everything down, put my crimp tube on, and put my wire guardian on. Squish my little wire guardian in just a little bit, not much. And you don't have to do this, I just think it looks good, I don't know. I squished him in a little bit too much. You gotta be careful. These little crimp tubes are easy to destroy. I'm gonna go down the other side of my crimp tube. My wire guardian. The other channel. And I'm gonna go back through my crimp tube. Keep my wires from getting crossed. And on this side, I usually try to go through a bead or two on this side because it kind of helps get my hands out of the way. I'm going to hold on to my wire guardian and pull my wire. I want to make sure there's no slack in my necklace, but I also want it to be able to move well, so I don't want to crimp it too tight, pull it too tight when I crimp it. So now I'm going to take my crimping pliers and go into that second part again and lay my crimp in there and squeeze. And I'm going to turn it, lay my crimp in the top part and squeeze and fold my crimp. I'm going to tug. That's good. So now I'm going to cut off my extra wire. So now that's what I've got. So now I'm going to get ready to put my findings on. Okay, now I'm ready to put on my clasp and my chain and all that. I've got my chain nose pliers and my bent chain nose pliers, and I've got a couple of little 5mm jump rings here. These are a little bit thinner than those 18 gauge that I use a lot. I think these are about 20 or 21 gauge, but it's easier to get these through the links of these chain links are kind of small, and it's a little bit harder to get those 18 gauge jump rings that I use through that. So I'm using these a little bit thinner gauge. I'm going to put my little piece of wire, and this is about a 2.5 inch piece of wire here. Put that on there. Do the same thing over here on this other side. Okay, now I'm going to take another 5mm jump ring and put my lobster on. Now I'm going to take a little bit bigger jump ring here. This is an 8mm. I'm going to put it over here on the other side. This is a little bit, I believe this is an 18 gauge jump ring, so it's a little bit harder. It'll go on here. I know it will. I've done it in those last two necklaces. It's just a little bit harder to get it on there. There we go. Now I'm going to take my extender chain, put it on there. So there we go. That's what I got. That's what I got there. Now I'm gonna make a little dangle here to go on the extender chain. So I'm gonna take my ball head pin here, and I'm gonna put one of these little 4mm beads on here. I'm going to take my pliers and go to the very tip of my pliers, bend at a 90-degree angle, take my round nose pliers, put it in the crook of the bend, round nose pliers facing me. I'm going to bend the wire back until it hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Hold on really tight. Pull this wire back up and under it until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock it back a little until the loop is centered over the bead. Now I'm going to open my loop just a little bit and thread on my extender chain, the end of my extender chain here. I'm going to close my loop back. Now I'm going to take both pairs of my bent chain nose pliers, hold on to my loop, hold on really tight. Oh no, my extender chain, the end of my extender chain broke off. The last extender chain I used, the very last link was cut. I don't know how that's happening. Okay, well, let me open my loop back again. Put it on this link that's not broken. Close my loop up. Take my bent chain nose pliers. Hold on to my loop. Hold on to my loop really tight so that it doesn't get out of shape. Take my other pair of bent chain nose pliers. Start to wrap. Try to get that first wrap good and tight. And then just wrap until there's no more room to wrap. And now take my cutters and cut off the extra wire. Take my crimping pliers and I'm going to squish in that little burr that's left from where I cut the wire. And so there's my necklace. Now I'm going to get my stuff together here and make a little pair of earrings. Hold on. Okay, now I'm going to make a little pair of earrings here. I'm going to take my ball head pin here. You don't have to have a ball head pin. You can just use a regular head pin. And put my bead cap on, an 8mm. Another bead cap. Take my pliers and go to the very tip of the pliers, bend at a 90-degree angle over the tool, take my round nose pliers, put the round nose pliers in the crook of the bend, round nose pliers facing me, bend the wire back until it hits the tool, until it hits the bead, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, hold on tight and take this part and pull it up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock it back a little to center the loop over the bead. Take my bent chain nose pliers. Hold on to my loop. Hold on really tight. Take my other pair of bent chain nose pliers and start to wrap. Try to get that first wrap good and tight. Now, take my cutters, Cut off the extra wire. Take my crimping pliers, tuck in the little burr that was left when I cut off my wire. Now I'm going to take my head pin. I'm going to put on a spacer bead, a chevron bead with the point facing down, another chevron bead with the point facing down, a little 4mm bead, chevron bead with the point facing up, another chevron bead with the point facing up, and another little spacer bead. And now I'm going to take my pliers, and I think I want to make this loop facing opposite the loop down here, so it'll hang on the ear wire the way I want it to. So I'm going to go just a little bit above the bead so I don't crack my bead, bend at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to cut off, leaving about 1/4 of an inch of wire. Take my round nose pliers, go in here, make sure there's no wire sticking out, that it's flush there. And start rolling back a loop. Make sure to get it closed up really well. Make sure I want it to be opposite this one, but it's not hardly as opposite as I want it to be, so I'm going to twist it a little there. At least I think I want it to be opposite. I guess I'll find out when I put it on the ear wire. Now I'm going to take this bottom loop and find which side opens, and open it. Thread on my little dangle here. Close the loop back. Now take this top loop, open it up, put my ear wire on, there we go, there's a little earring. Now I'm going to make the other one off camera, and I'll be back. Okay, there's necklace and earring set number 3, made out of the most recent bargain bead box, the Art Deco Luxe collection. I'll get the earrings up here closer so you can see them better. Like I said, I've been buying beads and findings for many years now, and I do believe this to be a really good value. If you're not subscribed and you decide to, definitely take advantage of that coupon code. It'll save you $2 off your first box. As always, thank you all so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.